All right, everybody, welcome to this very short video on nutrition, essentially to help you get through the next few weeks while under lockdown, particularly with the objective to give you a bit of guidance and a bit of clarity as to, one, how much food and calories to be eating less while we're not teaching and partaking in as many classes as before, and also giving a rough idea as to how to balance out your macronutrients to make sure that you keep lean, fit, healthy, and strong. So when you do get back to the gym, you're in really good shape, and you have that little bit of kind of clarity and focus as well for the next few weeks. So introduce myself right at the kind of start. My name is Tim Meadows, and I'm a nutrition coach, and I've done a fair amount of nutrition work for Folk Community Trust, as well as Les Mills UK and Les Mills International over the years as well. So hopefully this video will find you well and also give you a couple of good little nuggets of information, a couple of key takeaway points to put into your week over the next few weeks. All right, so I'm just going to jump straight to it. The purpose of this video is essentially just to, as I said before, give a bit of kind of clarity, a bit of focus. There's a lot of kind of questions, a lot of thought. You'd probably be thinking the same, perhaps, that you're not teaching, you're not training, you're not going and partaking in as many fitness classes as you used to under lockdown, maybe just doing the odd home workout, and you're a bit worried about how much food to eat less to make sure that you keep the same body weight, or you keep moving forward in your kind of weight loss and kind of fat loss goals. Secondly, also give you a bit of an idea as to how much of each macronutrient we should be kind of looking to eat, and how we can balance that out over a day and over a week as well. So I'll just say right now as well, if there's any questions or any thoughts, obviously feel free to come find me on social, and I'll happily try and address any sort of further concerns that you have. But so I'm going to try to keep this fairly kind of short and keep your attention. Try to wrap it under 20 minutes. So I'm just going to dive straight in. Okay. So the first thing we need to kind of cover before we get started with all numbers and stuff up on the board is a quick consideration as to what takes up your energy output. Okay, so you may know that there are 4 factors that will sort of influence your total calorie output. The first one is your basal metabolic rate, then it is your sort of exercise activity, then it's your non-exercise activity, so like your steps and your fidgeting, all that kind of stuff, your general daily lifestyle, and then your thermal effect of food. So the type of foods and the type of macronutrients that you have also play a part in your total calorie output. Okay, so those 4 things all make up the total calorie output. The metabolism is around about 60%, and then everything else is generally between 10 and 20%. Okay, so when you think about the classes that you used to kind of do, they take up literally about 1/8. So if you can imagine like a big pie chart, divided up into 8 sort of slices. One of those slices is pretty much your actual activity, teaching, partaking in kind of classes, scope out of the whole 8 kind of slices of the whole cake, if that makes sense, okay, or whole pie chart, whatever you prefer. So it's only a fraction of what makes up the total kind of calories. So although you aren't doing as many classes as you kind of used to, so maybe you're quite a regular doing 6, 10, 12 classes a week, and now maybe it's just the odd occasional home workout perhaps, it's not as a huge, not really great English there, it's not as much of a huge difference as you originally think, or you may originally think like, oh my word, I used to do 10 or 12 classes, now I'm only doing a couple of home workouts. It's not quite the same, it's not the same intensity, it's not the same duration. So, I need to be eating 500 or 800 or 1,000 calories less because, every class is 300, 400, 500 calories. Okay, so first of all, we've got to just have that little bit of understanding that our actual exercise is a very, very small part of our total calorie output. Okay. And then on the flip side, you may be finding yourself, walking more, on the bike more, perhaps as well, doing more sort of even sounds silly things like cleaning and more time in the garden. All those are really quite high calorie daily sort of activities. So although you may have like lost the kind of classes, you're still doing a bit of a couple of home workouts perhaps, and you're doing all the additional stuff that you weren't doing before. So that difference really isn't that big as you may originally kind of think. Okay, so that's the first kind of thing just to kind of get out of the way. The next point of call is when we are talking about how much food should we be having less, then there is sort of numbers getting banded around what sort of deficit shall I be in. So even if you are on a weight loss or fat loss pursuit, you either have a severe calorie deficit, a moderate calorie deficit, or a slight calorie deficit, okay? And for ease of numbers and stuff, it's pretty simple to go around 30% less, 20% less, and 10% less of a deficit over the week, okay? So being in calorie deficit for one day and then being in an excess, obviously, for the 6 other days of the week, it's not going to kind of get us where we want to be. We need to be in a consistent calorie deficit over the week in order to make sure we head in the right direction that we want to be heading in. So general ways of kind of going about it, long-term adherence and compliance for clients and for yourselves, anywhere between 10 and 20% between a slight and a moderate calorie deficit is easier to manage, it's more sustainable, it's going to last longer, and the weight that you lose will stay off, okay? It is not going to be a severe starvation / severe calorie deficit that we are kind of looking for, okay? So anything between 10 and 20% works quite well. For all the clients that I've been coaching from obviously kind of the COVID lockdown through the kind of COVID lockdown, when I've been adjusting and tweaking their macros, I've been working with them literally between a 10 and 12.5% calorie deficit. And they've still been losing weight and still having enough energy and still keeping their muscle mass, okay? So I think sometimes it's easier to start a bit more conservative, go for a slight deficit, and then track and monitor for 2, 3, 4 weeks to see how that goes, and then you can always increase it as you need to. Problem is, if you jump too far too soon, you have a negative effect on your metabolism for a start, you have a negative effect on your exercise and on your non-exercise activity as well, because you're essentially giving your body a lot less fuel to try and do, you know, X amount of steps and general kind of lifestyle things, okay? So it's much better to start off around about the 10 to 15%, see how that goes for 2, 3, 4 weeks, as I said, and you can always increase it if you need to, okay? But generally, I found the last few weeks, that's not been a problem at all. 10 to 12% works really well, okay? And when we're feeling really stressful and really anxious and we still want a few comforting foods and a bit of chocolate and all that kind of stuff every now and again, because things are obviously quite stressful and quite anxious, we don't quite know what's really kind of going on, then it is quite handy to make sure that we don't, you know, add an additional stress of being too severe in a calorie deficit, all right? We just don't need, you know, that kind of hassle mindset of food and dining and all that kind of stuff. We just want to be a bit more accountable, be a bit more realistic, and just keep heading in the right direction. Cool. So I'm just going to put up a couple of numbers up on the board to give you a rough idea as to where you can kind of head or where you should be heading in terms of different macronutrients, okay? So apologies if you might already know this information, but I just want to make sure that we're all on a kind of similar page, and that we all kind of know where we sort of headed, hopefully, okay? So if you're working with a client, generally the best way to kind of go about it is you're going to times their body weight by a certain number to work out protein, and then another number to determine how much carbs they should have, so carbohydrates, and then we use a percentage of our total calories to work out our amount of fat that we're going to be having as well. So generally, the fat intake will be anywhere between 20% and up to sort of 30, even 35%, even 40% if you wish, okay? But generally, we don't go below 20% of our total calories from fats, because fats are really, really important for hormones, for energy, for tons of molecular kind of functions throughout the body. So we don't go, you know, zero fat or zero carbs, zero protein, okay? The 3 macronutrients, and the word macro is slang for large, okay? So it's of large importance to us, hence why good, healthy food relationships has, you know, a bit of everyone. We do not demonize any one of the largely important macronutrients, okay? We all have them through. We don't go for a very low or zero amount of protein, carb, or fat, okay? They all play their part in a good, healthy diet, a good, healthy nutrition space, particularly if we are active, okay? So let's just jump straight in. So we take a body weight. So client up there has got a body weight of 65 kilograms. I normally work in kilograms, a bit easier, but that is around about 10 stone, 4 or 5 pounds, something like that, okay? Times about 2.2, and it's about 140 pounds or so, give or take a couple of pounds, okay? So 65 kilograms. So essentially, when wanting to maintain lean muscle mass, if you're wanting to keep your body relatively lean, if you're looking for kind of weight loss and fat loss pursuits, we generally start taking protein from a moderate level and start tipping up towards moderate to moderate high levels, okay? So we're going to start with 2 grams per kilogram body weight. And my quick bit of maths will do me, well, that's 130 grams of protein, all right? Then carbs as well. So carbs, literally for my clients and for everybody that I always kind of talk to about nutrition, that is sort of dependent on the amount and the intensity of your exercise. So if you are an instructor teaching 10 to 20 classes of things like body combat and body attack and RPM, grip, body pump, then you're going to be burning through carbs just like that. So you do need quite a bit. So you need 3, 4, 5 grams, anywhere between that range of about 3 up to 5 grams per kilogram body weight will serve you really, really well, because that is your body's preferred energy source. And carbs are muscle sparing, meaning that they look after your muscle mass tissue to keep in the kind of strength element and let carbs be used for fuel. If you don't have enough carbs in your body, then your body starts looking for other sources for fuel, and it ends up chewing down your muscle, which is never a really good place to be in. And that's for male and females just wanting to be, lean, healthy, fit, athletic, strong, etc., etc. Okay. However, because we are in a kind of lockdown, you probably won't be teaching or training as with many classes and as high intensity as it probably would be in a studio. We're not going crazy low carb. We're just going for a moderate amount of carbohydrate. Okay, so we're going to go for about 3 grams. 3 times 65, 195 grams of carbs. So there's plenty, there's plenty carbs there to have a bit of chocolate now and again, to have the occasional beer perhaps, or a glass of wine or gin or whatever it is. So you can play around with that, around about 200 grams. There is no need to, it's not massive amounts. It's not like having to really stress too much about, can only eat 50 grams of carbohydrate or something ridiculous like that. Okay, there's still good flexible amount of food to be kind of not played with but tweaked with. Okay, then we'll take our fat percentage, and if I remember correctly, it's about 40. So 20% of these calories. I'll spare you how you kind of work that all out. Feel free to pop me a message if you're really kind of curious. But it works out to be about 41%. So that's literally the kind of lowest point you really want to take it for maintaining kind of health. Okay, the only people that are really going to be going below 20%, perhaps for a very short space of time, would be like your physique competitors, your bodybuilders leading up towards a competition where they're trying to absolutely strip down to ridiculous kind of amounts. They'll do that for a very short period of time where they may tip down to 10 or 15%. But for everybody else, for 99% of the population, including fish instructors, gym participants, everybody else, you're looking for between 20 and 30% body fat, okay? And that equals, excuse the handwriting, about 1,625 calories, okay? So that's one way to kind of go about it, give you something to really aim for. And in your day, if you've got maybe 3 meals, 4 meals, 5 meals, whatever suits you best, you can figure out about dividing 130 divided by 3, 4, or 5 to figure out how much protein you should be having in each meal. Obviously, food is really key, really important, because that's where you get your micronutrients from. But if you do fancy or having a protein shake, a whey shake, or a plant-based shake to help you get up to those numbers as one out of the kind of 3 meals, that's not a huge problem. All right, those whey powders or soy or plant-based or pea proteins, all that kind of stuff, totally fine, really, really healthy, no issue with them whatsoever. We're not going to a liquid diet at all. We're just using a bit of liquid to help us get up those numbers, because sometimes it can be quite difficult, particularly to hit protein, okay? And yeah, I'll just leave it as that, okay? I'm not gonna go down the protein doesn't make you big, muscly kind of chat, okay? But you need more than just protein to build muscle, okay? So 1625. Now, we'll do with some kind of clients, depending how it kind of goes, you may find that 40%, big body, 41 grams of fats is quite low. It's a bit hard to really, build or still have the foods that you really enjoy. So if you're like me and you like kind of whole fat milk, blue top milk perhaps, if you like having a bit of nuts and you like your salmon and your beef and, normal whole fat kind of yogurt and you just avocados perhaps and nuts, as I said before. So if you're finding yourself struggling with hitting 40 grams, then there's obviously a little thing that we can do to give you more space in the fat macronutrient. But then obviously, just like I said, our tipping scales, if we take a bit more here, then we need to kind of cut down somewhere else, okay? Now, protein ideally is always going to stay around about 2 grams, because that is going to help you stay sort of lean, help look after lean muscle mass, okay? And I probably should have said before, the reason why protein is so key now is that it takes up nearly 6 times the amount of energy to digest protein than it does carbohydrate or fats. So in terms of anything fat loss, maintaining muscle mass, being lean, having a relatively high protein number is really super key, right? Really beneficial. Okay, so that's why that one literally is pretty kingpin in these kind of circumstances. Okay, so if we want to go from 20% fat and give ourselves a bit more, we can go up to about 28% fat, but then obviously we need to take from somewhere else. If we can't take from protein, then we have to take it from carbs, okay? So we just take carb down from 3 to 2.5, so times 2.5 by 65. Oh dear Lord, and that will give us 160. That stays at 130, so 130, 160, and then 28% give us 50. All right, so just by that simple little manipulation, we've gone from 195 grams of carbs to 160, gone from 40 grams of fats now to 50 grams of fats, just to help us suit our own preferred foods. Simple as that, okay? And the big magical thing is that stays the same, 1625, okay? And as you know, hopefully, the biggest factor in either gaining weight or losing weight is total calories over the week, okay? That's the numero uno thing. So as long as you're balancing that out, how you make up fats or carbs is really up to you, okay? Set your calories where they need to be, set your protein, and then you can tweak carbs and protein literally as you prefer, as you need, as long as you don't go over that number that you've kind of set yourself by following the low to moderate calorie deficit, okay? Very mindful of the kind of time, so I'm just going to give you 5 tips just to focus on for the next few weeks to give you a little bit of focus and a bit of clarity, okay? So the first one, I really kind of touched on it, is keep protein high or make protein high, okay? Ladies, notorious to kind of under-eat protein because we think protein with the gym bros and the whey protein and the chicken drumsticks and stuff like that, that they're going to get big and muscly and all that kind of stuff, okay? It doesn't happen like that. So generally, every food diary that I've ever read over the last 5, 6, 7 years, a lot of the time, there's a lot of under-eating of protein, okay? So if you want a lean, fit, strong, athletic body, you've got to up the protein, definitely, okay? So aim for those, around about those kind of numbers, okay? Next one, fruit and veg, right? Just always old school, simple stuff, okay? Try and have 2 bits of fruit every day. Try to find a couple of bits of veg that you like. You don't need to like every bit of vegetable, you know, they have. You don't need to have 20 different types or 10 different types. Just pick a handful of different veg that you like and try and get them in as often as you can, okay? Salads and soups are really good and really easy, but do what you can to make sure you get a bit of fruit and veg in. Reason why, it's high in fiber and high in micronutrients, okay? So really good, healthy kind of stuff, and helps you keep feeling full in between your meals. 100 to 200 calories of chocolate. So, you know, I say to clients all the time, if you like a lot of chocolate, keep eating chocolate and give yourself a 200 calorie, you know, bonus. Give yourself a 100 calorie sort of allowance. It's like earning money, right? If this is your monthly paycheck, then why not give yourself, that's a 2, by the way, 100, 200 calories of enjoyment, right? That's your night out. That's a couple of coffees with your friends. You know, that's a me relax, keep my sanity kind of allowance. As long as you stay within that number, you're going to keep heading along the kind of fat loss goal, because total calories is king. So having, say, 160 grams from fruit and veg and a bit of potato or whatever it is, rice or something, totally fine. And then you've got 20 grams from chocolate. And you stick with the 195 and stick with that number. Sorted, right? No worries at all. You can still keep eating your favorite foods and lose weight. Next up, 2 things in terms of activity. Ideally, a bit of HIIT is quite good. One or two sessions of HIIT every week is not a bad way to kind of keep yourself going through home workouts and stuff. And then your step count. You can do this obviously through your phone, through a couple of apps, through your watches, all that kind of stuff. track yourself for 2 or 3 days, get a rough average. You may find yourself only maybe stepping 6 to 7, 8,000 steps per day. Then all you do, add on 10%, so you add on about 1,000. And then for the next week, you try and hit that slightly higher target. Next week, you try and hit just a slightly higher target again. And literally just try to get your non-exercise output up. Okay, pretty simple. And the last one is literally just to be kind. Be kind to yourself, be realistic, okay? These are very, very different times. We've not really experienced anything like this before, so there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of stress. Social media is really kind of crazy. You know, the news is kind of crazy as well. We all don't know what's kind of going on. So just understand that it's not going to be the same. It's a whole different kettle of fish. We cannot compare like for like from what we used to do, from how we used to train, or how many classes we used to go to, and how many calories we used to burn, and all this kind of stuff, okay? We've got to take a different sort of approach. This is a whole new world, whole new sphere. Focus on what you can control, and just be kind of realistic. There'll be some days you'll be feeling really good for it, and there'll be other days where it's just one of those days, okay? So just try to be a bit more kind and realistic. The thing about social media, it's really easy to even unintentionally compare yourself to other people. And what you're doing when you're watching social media, generally watching a bit of a highlight reel, all right? You're not seeing everybody's obviously kind of up and down days. All you really see is generally people's up days, and you think everybody's up, but we all have our up and down days, okay? So just be kind and be realistic with yourself, okay? Bit of mental health there. And that's it, hopefully. So probably gone after over 20 minutes. I'm trying to work at the time, but hopefully it's been fairly helpful. Any questions, as I said before, feel free to just to get in touch. But yeah, give you a bit of clarity, a bit of focus, something to kind of aim towards for the next few weeks. And you can take that forward with you, obviously, when things get back normal and we're all allowed to come back out and play again and jump around studios and gyms and things like that. All right, so have a wonderful week and weekend, and I'll hopefully see you soon. All right, cheers. Bye.